I don't think there's any evidence that this is going to work now when it's failed for the past 3 months.
Iran knows the pressures that Trump is facing domestically. It's very clear. Iran is savvy to the fact that Trump wants progress, or to project the idea of progress, because Americans would like for this to wrap up, right? They're savvy that the president, he actually wants to minimize conflict. That's why this ceasefire, which I put with air quotes, continues. He wants to have this idea that actually this is a different phase from the initial phase of military action, and they seem to be kind of trying to exploit that. When you hear what senior Iranian officials are saying, oh, the ceasefire is actually meaningless, and they're saying that when the U.S. does strike Iran, they're going to make the U.S. regret that they did it. They're going to strike back more. How are you seeing this kind of information warfare? How are you seeing that?
I think between Trump and Iranian leadership, on one hand, neither side wants to go back to full-scale war, but the Iranians are much more willing, because the status quo, where basically we see what we saw this week, U.S. strikes and then says timeout, that was the end of it, is not acceptable to them. They don't want the U.S. to set the tempo of when they bomb Iran. And so they are willing to strike back and escalate, even if it brings them into the same situation we saw in March. And so, unfortunately, for Donald Trump, who kind of doesn't want to escalate more, both his partner, Israel, and his adversary, Iran, are much more willing to return to war than he is. And I mean, what we're seeing this week is the unsustainability of the kind of semi-ceasefire but no peace that he's thought he was comfortable in for the past 2 months.
So the U.S.-made precision bombs appear to have struck 2 drinking water facilities in southern Iran. That's according to images that were posted by Iran's semi-official news agency and an independent outlet analyzed by CNN. A spokesperson for CENTCOM said they were aware of reports about the damaged tanks. They're looking into the situation. What do we need to know about this? What questions is this raising for you?
Unfortunately, CENTCOM, which is run by uniformed military personnel and is supposed to be a totally military, nonpartisan organization, has not been entirely truthful since the beginning of this war. They still have not explained openly what happened to the school the U.S. forces struck on the first day of the war that killed 168 school children. On the other side, we've seen President Trump repeatedly threaten to do war crimes, threaten to target civilian infrastructure. That's been part of his strategy. He said that out loud. And so, unfortunately, it really is plausible, more plausible than I wish it was, that we have U.S. pilots deliberately striking civilian
What's the
infrastructure.
problem? What if that is seen as a dual purpose target? I mean, how do you explain that? Because there's always, we look at the law that governs this kind of thing, it seems very clear cut until you actually get into it, right, in a situation. If there's something that is used by both the military and civilians, but then there's also a responsibility on the part of the person who is attacking the target to make a very good calculus about that.